what happened to Jimin. Between truth and fabrication, dear listeners. Today we invite you to reflect more deeply on a story that you may have heard recently. This is not just a story about an idol, nor a dramatic tale like in a soap opera, but a moment full of speculation involving Jimin, one of the members of BTS who is currently serving his mandatory military duty. The question is this story true, or is it merely a fabrication to grab the media's attention? You must know who Jimin of BTS is, a star who has inspired millions of people worldwide. But do you know the other side of Jimin? Not just a global superstar, but also a son who deeply loves his mother? Recently, news surfaced that Jimin's mother was facing a major event that shook her life. But should we believe this story at face value? Is it just a media play? Or is it truly a heartbreaking reality? An event that shook the world. Jimin is currently serving his military duty at the FDC Fire Direction Center. Far from the glamorous life he usually leads as a BTS member, Jimin is now living with a tight schedule and the unforgiving rules of military service. However, despite being far away from his family, especially his mother, he received some shocking news. What really happened to his mother? Why is this news so shocking, and why should we believe it? A lot of speculation has arisen. Many people focus on the loving mother-son relationship between Jimin and his mother. It's not uncommon to hear stories about parents who tirelessly support their children's careers. But is this story just a narrative built to win sympathy? Or is there something more to it than just coincidence? Did Jimin need special permission? In such situations, a big question arises. Did Jimin receive special permission from his military service to return home? We know that South Korea's military rules are strict. Even in emergencies, exceptions are rare. So, is it possible that Jimin, with all his fame, was given leniency to be with his mother? Or is this all part of a narrative created by the media? Let's think for a moment. Jimin, known for his cheerful and dedicated persona in front of the camera, is suddenly confronted with a very personal situation. In this story, we are presented with the image of how important family is to Jimin, especially his mother. But we must also ask, is this just a strategy to make the story more dramatic? Is this part of a promotional tactic or simply a move to attract attention? Speculation on social media. As the news spread, various theories began to emerge on social media. Fans started speculating about what really happened to Jimin's mother. Some hoped that Jimin would be granted special permission to return home. But do we really know what happens behind the scenes? We see how powerful Jimin's influence as a public figure is, but is that enough to change the military's strict decisions? Maybe some of us are caught up in speculation, hoping for clearer confirmation. But is that what's really happening? Do we truly understand the situation? Or are we just trapped in a story created to manipulate our emotions? Is this a real story or just a fabrication? It's important to ask ourselves, is this story really happening as reported, or is it just a fabrication to attract media attention? How far can we trust the information coming from the outside world, especially when it involves a celebrity as big as Jimin? Are we following this story because it involves someone we idolize, or are we simply caught up in a media game that wants to exploit the fame of BTS? The news about Jimin and his mother has caught the attention of many, both BTS fans and the general public. But we need to remember that not everything circulating in the media is fact. Sometimes, we need to think critically and question whether the information we receive truly reflects reality, or if it's simply a story created to stir up sensation. The media's responsibility and its influence on society. The media has significant power in shaping public opinion. We cannot ignore the fact that the media often creates certain narratives to attract attention. By using famous figures like Jimin of BTS, the media can leverage their fame to generate more clicks, more readers, and more buzz. But is this fair? Do we truly know what's happening behind the scenes? Or are we just becoming victims of a narrative crafted by the media? As readers, we must be wise in accepting information. Not all news we hear or read has a solid foundation. Even stories that seem heartfelt, like Jimin's facing a tough time with his mother, could just be a fabrication designed to stir our emotions. Perhaps this is the right moment for us to ask, do we really know what's happening, or are we just following along blindly? What do we expect from Jimin? Amid all the speculation and theories, one thing is certain. We all wish the best for Jimin and his mother. But are our hopes based on reality, or just on the story the media has created? Do we want Jimin to return home and be with his mother, or are we just following what's displayed on the screen? In the end, this is the big question we must answer as critical readers. Let's take a moment to reflect. Are we ready to accept the reality as it is, or do we prefer to be caught up in a narrative already shaped by others? We must be wise in accepting information and not easily influenced by stories designed simply to attract attention. As fans, we need to remember that every idol, including Jimin, is a regular person who faces challenges and trials in their life, even though we rarely see that side of them. Conclusion: truth or fabrication? In closing, I invite you all to reflect more deeply. Do we believe that what's happening with Jimin and his mother is real, or just a fabrication to gain sympathy and attention? This is the right time for us to think critically and not just accept all the information that's out there. Jimin is an inspiring figure to many, but like every individual, he also has a life full of challenges. Let's ask ourselves together, do we really know what's happening, or are we just trapped in the sensation created by the media? Could this just be a story deliberately created to grab the media's attention and evoke public empathy? If we reflect on it, there are many factors that could be behind the spread of this information. Is this truly a story that's happening, or is it just a fabrication wrapped in an emotional narrative to strengthen someone's image? Often, the entertainment industry and the media work together to create engaging content, not just to provide honest information, but also to boost popularity and attract public attention. On the other hand, we cannot deny that Jimin's fame and status as a BTS member have a huge impact on how a story can go viral, draw wide attention, and even involve the deep feelings of his fans. So, can we separate fact from sensation? Could Jimin himself feel caught between his duty as a soldier and his personal desire to support his mother? Yet, amid all the speculation, we must also question the role of the media and how they frame this story. The media can manipulate information, change narratives, and present it in ways that influence public perception. Will this story make us believe more in Jimin's sincerity as a person, or will we be trapped in a pattern of information consumption that only worsens our judgment of an idol's private life? Ultimately, what's more important is how we, as readers and fans, view this story. Will we accept it as a heartbreaking reality, or will we be suspicious and see it as part of a media strategy designed to manipulate our emotions?